actually play a audio clip? I might actually have an audio clip.
Yes, actually. Perhaps. Actually, don't. Let's try it on.
I'm on 3, right?
Yes. Shit, I don't know where the aux cord's at. One sec. Let's try this.
This one should play it. Oh,
Try it out.
yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, so I don't like to pull all nighters because I enjoy my sleep, but
Fine.
oh, the audio?
Yeah, sure.
It's my volume's on.
Might be a no-go because
That's
I'm
okay.
not sure. What the fuck?
If not,
Yeah.
wait, why was it playing before though?
When was it playing?
It was playing before you fiddled something over here. It was playing
You
the
heard
first
it?
time you asked me to.
Oh, you heard it?
I heard it through here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I heard a little static.
I don't hear it.
You don't hear it?
That's weird.
Should you hear it too, I guess?
Yes. Turn it up more. Is it loud?
Yeah.
I can't hear it. I think I unplugged my headset. Maybe that's why. So what we will do. I can't hear a squirrel.
Try it again.
I mean, as long as.
I can hear it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I don't know why I unplugged mine. Talking about it.
Test. I can't hear myself through here.
You can't?
Test, no.
That's weird.
Should I move to a different mic?
Dang, these are crazy.
What?
These headphones.
Yeah, the company. It was like a Amazon discount. They're like originally like $150 or $200. I got them for $100. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go buy them.
Check.
Test. You're supposed to screw it to the audio.
Yeah, but now I gotta figure out why your headphones aren't working.
Or if you plug it into a different
Yeah, I don't
mic,
know.
and I can always move.
Hello. Talking that, was you?
Test.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, yeah, you're good.
It's working.
Yeah.
Check out the audio just in case.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I don't know.
That's okay. You just disconnect the audio for a bit.
I have no clue
I can just say
what I did. Well.
That's okay.
That's right. All right, give me another check just so we're good.
Test.
Yep.
Testing.
We're good.
Okay, just give me one quick hot second. I guess we just pull up these articles and go. Okay. Well, I'm about as ready as I'll get. So.
Can you hear?
Good afternoon, everybody, from the 11th inning stretch. My name is Paul Eppy, and this is the point where I would usually introduce my co-host, Alex Schneider, but today he had to deal with a family emergency. So, Alex, I bid you Godspeed and good luck with your situation, and I hope to see you back here next week. But in the meantime, you just have me today, folks. I was not able to procure a guest on the show this late in the game. So I'm going to be doing this in a one-man show. I don't think it's going to be a particularly long show because Alex, he's my right-hand man, and he usually provides a lot of interesting commentary, a lot more interesting than me, I might add. But we still have a lot to talk about. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be sort of flying by the seat of my pants because, as we discussed last week, I had exams this past week for school. I finished up yesterday on Thursday, and then I got home to my basement being flooded. And I wouldn't say flooded, but there was a considerable amount of water in my basement. So I did not have time to watch the Cardinal game last night. I did not have time to really get many notes procured for the show. That's kind of why I wish Alex was with me today, or at the very least, I had a co-host today. But the show must go on. I still have plenty to talk about. It just may not be as in depth as I might like, or as you, the viewer, might like. But please don't touch the dial. We'll be back next week with Alex back on the show here. Okay, so the big news coming up Cardinal camp this week actually happened last night on Thursday. The Cardinals were playing the Brewers, and Stephen Piscotty and Dexter Fowler both got injured. Piscotty was placed on the DL today, Friday morning. He was hurt running out a ground ball in the second inning. Dexter Fowler was hurt diving for a hit last night as well. So I don't have any information on Fowler right now. The Cardinals have not updated his condition, although Derek Gould speculated that Fowler's injury actually might be the worst of the two. Piscotty was placed on the 10-day DL, that new 10-day deal that we have talked a little bit about on the show. Fowler, again, it's expected to go on the DL, but it has not been decided what his future holds. But for Fowler, it was a shoulder. It was Fowler with a shoulder injury. So, what do the Cardinals do from here? What does the lineup look like? What does the outfield defense look like? I would say, well, first of all, Tommy Pham did get called up from Memphis to take Piscotty's spot. As to who's taking Fowler's spot, let's get to that first. I don't know of very many options down in AAA Memphis in terms of outfield positions other than outfielder Patrick Wisdom. He's one of the top rookies in the Cardinal system right now. He's 25 years old. This might be his time to really come up to the big leagues and make a name for himself, to improve his game and to show the Cardinals and everybody else what he's got. So let's get to some numbers real quick. Tommy Pham, who we've seen plenty of in the league the past couple of seasons, he started off very, very hot in Memphis. He has 4 home runs, 19 RBIs. He's batting .283 with a .371 OBP. With the big league club, Pham has been usually up and down. He's been known as kind of a big strikeout hitter, but his defense has always been very, very good. I've never doubted his defense personally. His offense, again, it can go either way. It's kind of a coin flip in that sense. Patrick Wisdom, he is also with Memphis right now, and so far on the young season, in 27 games, he's 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, a .278 batting average, and a .336 OBP. I also wanted to get real quick, what does OBP mean for these two? Typically, if you have an over 300 OBP, that's good. If you have a 400 OBP or above, that makes you an elite guy to get on base, really. I mean, think of a guy like Joey Votto. His OBP is consistently over 400. Matt Carpenter's is usually around 380, 390. Dexter Fowler was hovering around 400 for much of last season with the Cubs. So a 371 OBP from Pham and a 336 OBP from Patrick Wisdom. Offensively, I don't know how much. It's hard to gauge how much the Cardinals will lose, because if Tommy Pham is going to continue to hit like he has so far with Memphis, I don't think the Cardinals are really going to lose all that much. Now, with Fowler's injury, that might be a little different because, again, he is your typical on-base percentage guy. He's the guy at the top of your lineup to set the tone and get on base. And that's what is going to lead me into the next topic here is, what does the Cardinals lineup look like now? Because you have your 4 or 5 hitter with Piscotty, and then your leadoff guy with Fowler out for at least 10 days, quite possibly more. My analysis on the Cardinals lineup situation is in the very, very little research that I've had time to do today, there's some thought that maybe Kolten Wong should go to the leadoff spot. In the 8 hole, he's been the best hitter on the team. A lot of people criticize Kolten Wong, as we've discussed ad nauseum on this show, but in 2017 he's been the Cardinals' best hitter, and he's been probably the most consistent hitter too. He only has 1 home run, but he's not your typical power hitter, power hitting second baseman. But he has a .303 batting average and a .398 OBP. That's a very quiet batting average. We didn't quite expect Wong to be hitting .303 above 300, and we certainly didn't expect him to be a 400 on base percentage guy. And he's doing that in the 8 hole, by the way. So what happens if you move him up in the lineup to get more at bats? Maybe we see a little regression, come back to the mean, but I'm not so sure we will. I think the Cardinals would be useful in maybe getting him in that one spot in the lineup. Do you put Matt Carpenter there? He's been your leadoff hitter the past couple of seasons. Maybe you put him in the leadoff spot. That is what I think the Cardinals and Mike Matheny will do first. And pardon me, I'm going to look up the lineup for tonight's game. It probably would be worth noting to see what the Cardinals intend on doing here. So they actually, the lineup has actually not been released yet. But my guess is that Matt Carpenter will probably be your leadoff hitter, and then Diaz, he has not been hitting well. Do you put him? Do you just move everybody up and then put him number 2? Is Jerko still your cleanup hitter? Does he go 3? Is Jose Martinez your 3 or 4 hole hitter? That's to be decided, and that's going to be interesting to know within the coming days, especially when we do get a prognosis on Dexter Fowler. Where does he slide into the lineup? We'll see. It's still early. It's only about 2:45 on Friday afternoon. If I get the lineup here, I will tell it to you as I get it, and then I will provide my analysis on it. But for now, I also want to move on to more Kolten Wong talk, and I just want to provide a couple brief notes on his defense. And then after this, I'm going to get into more league news, and after that, we'll do the preview. Again, it's going to be a very, very short show today because Alex, my co-host, is not with me. Kolten Wong defense, he committed another error. I believe it was on, today's Friday, it was on Tuesday night against the Brewers. He committed another error, which allowed the Brewers to eventually score the winning run. And there were reports coming out that night and the next morning in the Post-Dispatch saying that Kolten Wong admitted, he basically walked into the clubhouse and said, this one's on me, guys. And he took full responsibility for it. And judging by Mike Matheny's comments, he was very, very proud that Kolten did that. And so, Kolten Wong, he's had a very good season at the plate so far, but that doesn't mean you still can't make mistakes. And I think and I hope Kolten's starting to really understand that this thing, you don't just be good right away. Things take time to develop. He has to mature. He has to have a little seasoning, as I like to say. He has to really just have his time in the league and know when he's playing day in and day out, know that he is playing day in and day out. And so far, I think Mike Matheny notices that, or Mike Matheny knows that. But nonetheless, Kolten Wong still committed an error on Tuesday night and still cost the Cardinals the ballgame. It is what it is, but as we talked about, again, ad nauseum on this show, the Cardinals just have to be better defensively and on the base paths. This brings up the question, are the 2017 Cardinals really different from the 2016 Cardinals? It's a lot of solo home runs, a lot of base running errors, and a lot of defensive errors. Going into last offseason, the main focus for John Mozeliak was to find a guy who can stabilize the defense and sort of in addition by subtraction with Matt Holliday and Brandon Moss. But nonetheless, again, the Cardinals are still hitting a lot of solo home runs. I believe Jed Jerko's, he has 6 home runs on the season, and all 6 are solo home runs. That especially when you're batting in the 4 and the 5 slot, that seems to be pretty hard to do. But nonetheless, Jed Jerko's done it. So, again, are the Cardinals really different this season as they were last season? I'm starting to believe that maybe they're just maybe they're the same. Maybe they're just the same, but with Dexter Fowler, and maybe Fowler improves your defense. Yes, out in center field, but again, the base running errors just seem to be systemic. And as I said last week to Alex, Colton Wong and Aledmys Diaz have committed a lot of errors in the middle infield. So I don't know. I am starting to doubt whether the Cardinals can turn that trend around this season. It might take a trade or something to really shake up the clubhouse for that to happen. And maybe somebody has to get moved. I don't know. However, that is about all I have for Cardinal news. It's only about 12 minutes into the show. And again, it's been a very, very hectic week for me. And again, Alex was unable to join me, so I sort of have to provide my own commentary as things roll along here. But one thing that really grinded my gears this past week and last week, and we're moving into more league news now, was the Manny Machado Boston Red Sox. I guess we'll just call it a fiasco, because that's kind of what it seems like. If you weren't aware, I believe it was, I forget if it was 1 or 2 weeks ago, but the Red Sox and the Orioles were playing each other. Manny Machado had a hard slide in to second base, and the Red Sox's Dustin Pedroia. He did not, well, he took Pedroia out of the game, but it was not, if you go watch the replay, it was not a purposeful slide to go take Pedroia out. He was not aiming for his knees. He wasn't aiming to spike him right in the leg. It was just a hard slide. And, there's that new rule that was instituted last year about how, like, the runner, I don't know the exact wording of the rule, but, like, the runner he has to slide toward the base. He can't slide 3 feet away from the base and say, oh, but I was sliding into the base, when he was really trying to take the second baseman or the shortstop out. They've done a decent job of enforcing that rule, but in this particular instance, Machado, I don't think, was trying to take Pedroia out of the game. Again, now Manny Machado, he's sort of a fiery personality. He's a guy who plays with a chip on his shoulder, even though I don't think he needs to, because he's a hell of a player. But Dustin Pedroia and the Boston Red Sox did not particularly like the way Machado slid into second base. So the Red Sox, 2 days later, proceeded to hit Machado. It wasn't Machado's next at bat. It wasn't the next day. It was 2 days later, 2 games later. The Red Sox, I forget who was pitching at the time, hit Manny Machado. Now, as you can imagine, Manny Machado was not very happy with this development either. And temper started to flare. And then we fast forward to this past week. The Red Sox and the Orioles were playing again, this time in Boston, and these tempers flared up once again. So, sorry, I'm trying to find my news story here so I can explain what exactly happened. So, again, in Boston, Chris Sale threw behind Manny Machado. This is a number of days later from the first incident. Chris Sale threw behind Manny Machado. Once again, Manny Machado did not particularly like what was happening. Tempers flare once again, and the umpire has to start issuing warnings and ejections. And then after the game, Manny Machado, he did not particularly, or he was very vocal in how he responded to being thrown at. And from my judgment, it looked like Sale was trying to throw at Machado. You could argue with me. If you do want to argue with me, please do at 11 Inning Stretch on Twitter and 11 Inning Stretch on Facebook. But Chris Sale is not a guy who I think we saw last year that he's also a guy who likes to play with the chip on his shoulder, and he is a guy who has a fiery personality. And I don't have a problem with that, but that's just the way it is, and that's just the way that I viewed all of this happening. So Manny Machado, after the game, he told reporters, and I am very loosely improvising here, he said that he's lost all respect for the organization. He didn't know why Sale would throw at him. He thought this whole thing was settled. And last I checked, Sale was not suspended. But again, it's been a hectic week, and I could be wrong on that, but Sale has not been suspended. If he does, he's only going to miss one start. It's not the end of the world. But needless to say, Machado was not a big fan of the Boston Red Sox organization, and I don't think he's going to be interested in signing with the Red Sox when he hits free agency at the end of next season. But then this takes me into the next topic here, also with the Red Sox and the Orioles. They've been in the news a lot lately. If you've been living under a rock, all the league news has been about the Red Sox and the Orioles. So this is, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday night as well. Adam Jones steps up to the plate, and he claims that someone from the stands in Fenway Park, presumably a Red Sox fan, called him the N-word and proceeded to basically just yell profane things at him. He didn't particularly like this, as well, nobody would like that, being called anything. Players can take a fair amount of heckling, but when you get into racial slurs, then we're getting into a different territory. So he came out after the game as well and said, I was called the N-word, this and that. Again, I don't know the exact quote or the complete full story, but I really liked the league's response and the Red Sox's response. Basically, they actually backed up Adam Jones. They said that this is not something we stand for. This is not something we're going to tolerate. This needs to end immediately. And I think that was a perfect response from the Red Sox. Good response from the league, because that's just something that you cannot wait on. You have to address it very, very quickly in order to have any really effect at all. One thing that I was a little interested in was that the Red Sox banned this fan for life from Fenway Park. I don't know how much of an effect that is going to have, because it seems like more of a symbolic move. How do you enforce one guy never getting into a ballpark? Maybe if his name comes up on the ticket stub, or he goes down to maybe he goes down to Fenway Park and tries to buy a ticket, and they'll say, well, what's your name? And if his name is John Smith, they see that John Smith is on the ban list, and they don't give him a ticket. But what if John Smith wanted to have his buddy go buy a ticket? It seems like a very symbolic move. I'm not sure how much of an effect it's going to have, but just the fact that the Red Sox and the league, and even Boston's mayor, came out so quickly to denounce what happened to Adam Jones, I thought was a very, very good move. And one also very interesting point that I saw as well was that CC Sabathia came out and said, yeah, Boston fans are known for doing this. It's happened to me before, and he says that he has like a group text of like all the African American players in the league. I think he said there was like 62 of them, and everyone says to each other, "Yeah, we're going to Boston now. I think we should expect these racial slurs." That depresses me. I wish it wouldn't happen, especially in 2017. I don't want to get too political here, but we think with the election of our president Obama that we now live in a post-racial society. That's clearly not the case. I understand that this one guy, yelling profanities at Adam Jones does not represent the whole Boston Red Sox fan base or the Boston Red Sox organization. But it's still sad to see, and I hope it's something that is continually addressed in the future. One thing that I actually did forget about too, regarding this whole Manny Machado Boston Red Sox incident, was that on Wednesday night, I believe it was the third game at Fenway Park, Orioles Red Sox, and I'm sorry to be jumping around here. Kevin Gausman was pitching for the Baltimore Orioles, and he threw a 77-mile-an-hour curveball over at Xander Bogaerts, and it hit Bogaerts in the hip. Gausman was tossed immediately. And what's important to note is that there were no warnings issued before the game. Yes, tempers were tense between the Red Sox and the Orioles, but Joe Torre from the league offices said that there were no warnings issued before the game, and basically the home plate umpire took it upon himself to toss Gausman immediately. And I'm trying to find, it was Sam Holbrook was the home plate umpire for that game, and I don't know how many years Sam Holbrook has been in the league, but he's been there for a while because I just have heard his name a number of times, and I know that he's a very experienced umpire. So I was actually watching that game as it happened, and because the Cardinals weren't playing on Wednesday night, again, they got rained out. And the Orioles commentators were just going off on Sam Holbrook. There were no warnings issued before the game. Why did you toss Gausman so quickly? He was clearly not trying to throw at Bogaerts. If he was trying to throw at Bogaerts, he wouldn't throw him a 76-mile-an-hour curveball. He'd throw him a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right in the ribs or right in the back or wherever he wanted to throw at him. And they were rather pissed that Holbrook tossed Gausman so early. And this happened in, I think, like the first or second inning. I mean, it was very early in the game, and the Red Sox had to go to the bullpen. The Orioles had to go to the bullpen very, very early. And I believe the Orioles ended up losing the game too. So, and then I looked on social media, and people were once again going off on Sam Holbrook, saying, "Why did you toss Gausman? There were no warnings issued. He wasn't trying to throw at him. You don't just toss somebody like that." And that seems to be the overwhelming response from fans and from commentators and from social media. However, and if you watched my little preview video from Facebook earlier today, you'll know I'm actually going to be arguing here for Sam Holbrook, the home plate umpire. And here's why. I umpire youth baseball. I'm not here saying that I umpire the major leagues or anything close to it. But I've umpired 13 and 14-year-old kids, and that's starting to get to the age where they take the game a lot more seriously, because when you approach high school, these kids want to make a high school team, and they want to keep playing baseball. Good for them. But I know a thing or two about managing a game. It doesn't really matter the age or the experience, or whether it's professional or little league. And I am with Sam Holbrook here, because he has to come into the game knowing the prior history between the Orioles and the Red Sox the past week. And whether there was a warning issue before the game from the league or not, one-hit batsmen like this, whether it's intentional or not, can flare up tempers lickety-split. And you have to control, and officiating I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Officiating the game is your number one priority in umpiring baseball. Controlling the game and make sure people don't kill each other is number two. I've been umpiring for 7 years. I like to think I know something about trying to officiate a game and trying to calm tempers, etc. And Sam Holbrook came into the game knowing that these two teams don't particularly like each other. So I think you have to take matters into your own hands and say whether it was intentional or not. I can't have the Red Sox reciprocating the offer when Manny Machado comes up. I can't have whoever's pitching for the Red Sox hit him again, because then we're just right back to square one. We're right back to throwing punches and benches clearing. So while there were no warnings issued before the game and Gausman wasn't trying to hit Bogarts, I don't think it matters, because these two teams hate each other and tempers can flare really quick. And you may not like it, Orioles fans. You may not like it, Buck Showalter. You may not like it, Orioles commentators. But you need to keep the game under control. So, tough luck. That's my opinion. And Gausman obviously wasn't very happy about it. Go watch the video. It's actually pretty interesting. And I want to read to you the statement Sam Holbrook gave to a reporter after the game. And I quote, "Just given the situation and the tension between the two clubs and all the stuff that's gone on over the past few weeks, we're all on high alert with anything. I know that the ball was a curveball, but it hit him square in the back, and I was just making a split decision at the point right there. There needs to be an end to this stuff, and I felt like an ejection was the right thing to do at the time. Thankfully, we don't have any more problems. Thankfully, we didn't have any more problems the rest of the game. That's the goal, isn't it? You don't want to have tempers flare every half inning because people are beating each other. I like what Sam Holbrook did. Again, if you want to argue with me, at Eliminating Stretch on Twitter, at Eliminating Stretch on Facebook. It's tough luck, but you can't. You have to keep the game under control. That's the number 2 priority in officiating a baseball game. And maybe Holbrook would take it back if he had another 3 seconds to think about it. Because a lot of officiating is split decisions that you don't have time to think about. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. We're all human. That's part of the game. Maybe he would take it back. I know if I was in that position, I'd toss Gausman. I'd toss Showalter if he wants to come out and scream in my face about it. And I'd be tempted to toss the Orioles catcher too if he wants to come scream about it. But you just have to set the tone that we cannot have pitchers drilling each other every game. But it is what it is. We move on. But how fun would it be to have the Red Sox and the Orioles play in the playoffs, or a one-game playoff, or like a game in late September where the game means a lot in the standings for one particular team? That would be fun to watch, and I think you have to have a very authoritative umpire in terms of setting the tone and making it be known that they're not going to stand for throwing baseballs at one another. Anyway. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the last portion of the show, the series previews. And the Cardinals are going to be in Atlanta this weekend, the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Then they go to Miami the 8th, 9th, and 10th of next week. If you have not noticed, the Braves opened a new ballpark. By the pictures I've seen, it looks very nice. I hope to watch the games this weekend to get a better indication of what that ballpark is like. So if you don't watch the game for baseball, watch the game to see the new stadium. It looks pretty nice from everything that I've seen. Anyway, the starters for the Cardinals this weekend against the Braves are going to be Lance Lynn on Friday, Mike Leake on Saturday, and Michael Wacha on Sunday. For the Braves, you have Mike Fultonevich on Friday, Julio Teheran, their ace, on Saturday, and R.A. Dickey is on Sunday. Players to watch. Oh boy, for the Cardinals, I think you have to watch Aledmys Diaz. He has been stone cold lately. He's been sort of a home runner bust type of guy. He's not taking walks. He's not really getting on base very much. Can he turn it around? Because the Cardinals are going to need him to turn it around in the absence of Stephen Piscotty and Dexter Fowler. Who to watch for the Atlanta Braves? I'm going to say outfielder Matt Kemp because he has had a scorching hot start to the season. He has 6 home runs, 16 RBIs, a 333 batting average, and a 361 OBP. And this is all in 16 games. He was out for part of the season. I forget what the injury was specifically, but he is back now, and he is hitting very, very well. He was one of those guys with the Dodgers a number of years ago that you thought might be like an MVP contender. I mean, he was really a 5-tool player, and he was that good. Injuries, like I say, have derailed his career, but they've delayed his career, and he kind of flamed out in Los Angeles, for lack of a better term. But he's with the Braves now, and he's actually been killing it. In 2016, he was batting 280. I mean, anything before that, he was batting 260, 250. So he has turned it on with the Braves. He's doing very, very well with the Braves. He's your player to watch for Atlanta. We move on to the Cardinals series in Miami next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The Cardinals are going to throw out their ace, Carlos Martinez, on Monday, Adam Wainwright on Tuesday, and Lance Lynn on Wednesday. As for the Marlins, they're going to be throwing out Adam Conley on Monday. Sorry, my internet's being a little slow here. On Tuesday, Dan Straley, and on Wednesday, Tom Kohler. Who to watch for the Cardinals? I'm going to stray away from Aledmys Diaz, and I'm going to say the bullpen, and specifically Trevor Rosenthal and Sang-Won Oh, because Sang-Won Oh seems to have gotten himself back on track at least a little bit, and Trevor Rosenthal's still throwing heat. So it's just a matter of, does this duo, how does it work out over the course of this series? For the Marlins, I have a couple players to watch. I want to watch their outfield as a whole because Marcell Ozuna has had a also wonderful start to the season. So far on the season, he's batting .301, 365 OBP, 8 home runs, and 23 RBIs. He's swinging a hot bat, and he's been swinging a hot bat for the first 27 games of the season. And then obviously you have to watch their center fielder and their right fielder, Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton can hit a baseball 50 million miles an hour, and he can hit it 50 million feet. So you have to watch him. If he gets hot, I worry for the Cardinals. And then Christian Yelich, I would not be surprised if he's an all-star. Maybe not this season or next season, whenever, but he is an exceptional talent that I don't think we talk about enough because the Marlins have, I think, one of the best 2 outfields in the game. I think you could argue the Pirates, too. The Pirates, even with Starling Marte in that lineup with Polanco and McCutchen, that outfield is superb. And then the Marlins are really not all that far behind them. Christian Yelich on the season is 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, a 270 batting average, and a 311 OBP. So he's off to a slow start. But last year he was superb. And both offensively and defensively, I think he'll turn it on eventually. Also for the Marlins, I want to watch Dan Straley, one of the starters in Game 2 of the series. Last season, you may remember him, he was with the Cincinnati Reds, and then he went to the Marlins this season. Last season, he was pretty good. He's 14-8 with a 3.76 ERA, and what I like about him the most is that he has a ton of strikeouts. Now, 162 last season. He is a strikeout pitcher, and the Cardinals can be a strikeout hitting team. So I just want to watch, if he has 8 or 10 or more strikeouts against the Cardinals, I don't think the Cardinals can win. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think the offense is that good to overcome something like that. But if he doesn't strike out as many pitchers, I think there's going to be a lot of guys getting on base, and it could be a high scoring game for the Cardinals. So it kind of depends on what Dan Straley shows up. Do you get the strikeout Dan Straley, who can strike out 10 or more in a game, or do you get the non-strikeout Dan Straley, who is very likely to allow a lot of runs? That is all I have for today's show. I thank you for joining me, and hopefully you were able to tolerate me talking for 36 minutes and 10 seconds. I was going to do the one missing piece segment for today, although since Alex wasn't with me, that is something I like doing with him, and I didn't really want to miss. So give us a follow on Twitter at 11 Inning Stretch, a follow on Facebook, 11 Inning Stretch. You can find us on both pages. Alex mainly runs the Facebook page. I do a lot of tweeting. You probably didn't see very much tweeting from me this past week because of exams and because of all the water in my basement. But Alex should be back with me next week. And for the final second of the show, I'm going to look up if the Cardinals lineup has come out. So I'm going to do a quick analysis on this right before I leave. There it is. Okay. Very interesting. The lineup for tonight's game, May 5th, against Atlanta, is Wong is batting first at second base, Jose Martinez over in right batting second, Matt Carpenter batting third, Jed Jerko fourth over third, Yadier Molina fifth, Diaz is batting sixth, Grichuk seventh over in left, Tommy Pham batting eighth over in center field, and Lance Lynn is going to be your pitcher. It's not surprising me to see Colton Wong batting leadoff. I hope to God he can continue it, because if the Cardinals are going to get through this stretch without Piscotty and Fowler, you need all hands on deck, because those are two very important guys to your offense. I'm a little curious to see Jose Martinez batting second. I thought he'd be more of a 5 type hitter. I've always viewed him as more of a power guy than power and driving the ball than anything else. But I don't have any huge issues with the lineup. We'll see how it develops over the next few days. Don't be surprised if you see a lineup merry-go-round, because you just have to find the right niche with these two guys out, and that might take 3 or 4 games. We'll see. That is all I have for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you tolerating me for now 38 minutes. Alex, if you're listening to this, I hope everything is well with you, and I will see you next week. Everybody else, I will see you next week. Again, please do give us a follow on Twitter at 11 Inning Stretch, Facebook 11 Inning Stretch. Our YouTube page is 11th Inning, 11th space inning. You can find our YouTube page in there. If you do want to go watch our podcasts, or if you want to go watch our shows from last season, you can do so too. Again, thank you for joining me. Please do give a shout out to lineupmedia.fm. You can find whole kinds of different shows on there. Whatever fits your niche, you can find it on lineupmedia.fm. Again, thank you for joining me. Today is Friday, May 5th. I will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. It's a miracle. Is it good or not is a whole different question.